Have you ever felt like you're living side by side with your partner rather than really with them? That roommate feeling can sneak up on you. And before you know it, you're looking back and thinking, how did we get here? You find yourself scrolling on your phones at the end of the evening, sitting on opposite ends of the couch. You're spending a lot of time just kind of doing your own thing. And when you think about affection and intimacy, it just really isn't there. Your relationship feels distant and hollow, even though you're in the same house. If you can relate to any of that today, we are digging into a major reason why this happens. And of course, as always, what you can do about it because there is so much hope to change things. I'm Lindsay, and this is Loving with Intention, and we are diving right in. So, I hear so often that couples feel like they are just ships passing in the night or like they're living parallel lives and that they miss how things used to feel in their relationship. You're both going about your days, you're managing chores, planning schedules, sharing a home, but something is missing. That spark, that closeness, that feeling of actually being seen and appreciated and deeply cared for and loved, it's like it disappeared. So here's the thing, that roommate energy usually creeps up not because of some large event, but because of small, consistent choices to not share our hurts, feelings, and our hearts over time. Picture this. Each time you feel hurt, disappointed, or lonely in your relationship, but choose to stay silent to not talk to your partner about it, a brick gets added to an invisible wall between you and your partner. The wall doesn't just pop up overnight, it is built slowly, brick by brick. And with every hurtful moment that's buried, the wall just grows taller and taller. And the really hard part is that you might not even notice the wall until it feels nearly impossible to reach each other over it. I see this in so many relationships. Maybe you don't want to bring something up because you worry that it's going to lead to conflict. And maybe you even had evidence of that in the past in your relationship. Or maybe you just convince yourself it's not really that big of a deal and you just quote unquote get over it. But you don't really get over it because it's actually eating away at you. Or maybe you don't bring things up because your partner just brushes you off when you do. So what's the point? But by keeping things quiet, we miss that essential chance to stay connected in our relationship. And I want to get really specific here. When you are not sharing your true feelings and your hurts, it changes how you interact in those everyday moments in your relationship. It changes your energy. It changes the things that keep the love alive in your relationship. So everyday exchanges start to feel really empty. When you're holding back your heart and your true feelings, you might have resentment, disappointment, anger, frustration under the surface. You don't feel seen by your partner. You don't feel like they care. You don't feel like they get you. So little gestures like greeting each other with love, a quick kiss in the middle of the day, or sharing appreciation and thank yous, those things can start to feel like a chore rather than something that you actually want to do. You're missing that emotional connection that makes those moments matter. So imagine that you're feeling hurt by something that your partner said, but you bury it instead of sharing it. Now, even a simple, how was your day? Feels empty because you kind of don't care because you're frustrated with them. Or you might hold back a kiss goodnight or avoid their touch because that unresolved hurt creates that silent distance that grows each time you push your feelings down. And another way that withholding your hurts and feelings shows up in relationships is that your conversations really just stay in the surface stuff. Without openness, conversations don't go deeper than things like logistics. Who's picking up the groceries? What are we having for dinner? When is the kids' soccer game? You stick to these safer topics because it's easier, they need to get talked about, and they won't build closeness. They're surface level conversations that make it easy to start feeling like roommates instead of loving, connected partners. And with that whole roommate energy, assumptions start to replace really knowing and understanding each other. So without sharing openly, so you're not hearing your partner's hurts and true feelings and you're not sharing yours, you start actually making assumptions without even knowing it about how each other feels or about how your partner is thinking. And those assumptions can lead to misunderstandings or even resentment because when we make these assumptions, we believe them to be true, like I said, without even noticing it. So you may tell yourself a story that, your partner didn't do something, they didn't make dinner on time because they don't care about you. And that's a story you tell yourself. And then you believe that story. So if we believe that that is true, that my partner doesn't care about me, then I'm going to feel resentful. I'm going to feel hurt. I'm going to feel upset and frustrated. When instead, if I got really curious about what went on for them, they might tell me that they didn't make dinner because they were busy doing XYZ, these other really important things in the day, or that they were really struggling at work and they got home and they felt so overwhelmed and burnt out that they didn't make the dinner and it actually had nothing to do with you. So when we just become stuck in our own perspectives and lose sight that our partner has their own reality too, you really stop being curious about their experience and you become more and more disconnected because you're believing all of these stories. And another thing that happens when your hurt feelings and your heart gets left unspoken is emotional safety breaks down in your relationship. It can start to feel like it's not safe to share things with them anymore. If there's an underlying fear that if you open up, it's just going to go badly, you'll close off even more. That fear of conflict or rejection just adds another brick to the wall. All of these things that I just shared with you, so your everyday exchanges feeling empty, your conversations staying on the surface, you making assumptions rather than being curious, having little to no emotional safety in your relationship, these things are like the side effects of not sharing your true feelings and hurts with your partner. And these things are the things that create connection and maintain connection in our relationship. Without them, it makes sense that there's a disconnected roommate energy. So you might be thinking, okay, I get it, but why is it so hard to open up? A big part of this is emotional safety. So it's kind of like a negative loop that keeps feeding itself. Maybe past attempts to open up haven't gone well. Maybe it led to a fight, or maybe your partner just didn't get what you were saying. Maybe they told you that your feelings, they invalidated you. They said, oh, that's not how I meant it, or that doesn't make sense, or I don't understand. So you felt invalidated. And when you have this happen repeatedly and you don't feel emotionally safe, opening up and sharing your feelings can feel really risky, even scary. And these patterns often come from childhood too. For example, you may have had parents or caregivers who didn't really fight, so you didn't see that, but they also didn't really feel connected. So you didn't see them talking about their feelings or working through issues. It just wasn't something in your awareness or a pattern that you built. Or maybe as a child, when you shared your hurt feelings or your thoughts or your heart, maybe your caregiver minimized them. Or maybe they told you to stop crying. It's not that big of a deal. Or maybe they got mad at you. So, on a subconscious level, you learned that it was quote unquote safer and that you stayed more connected to your caregiver if you didn't share, which makes so much sense because when we are children, our caregivers, they're our everything. That's who we look to for safety, to literally keep us alive. And us maintaining connection with them on a subconscious nervous system level is the most important thing. So we notice those things that break connection and those things that make connection. So if it felt better to not share our feelings because we didn't get minimized and in trouble, it makes sense that we would stop doing that. And it's actually really smart for a child to stop doing that. It is a brilliant self-protection that keeps you feeling more connected. There are so many factors and examples that can lead to withholding your heart in your adult relationships. And it is so important to give yourself so much compassion and love. Like I said, if sharing your feelings meant more hurt after that in childhood or in your relationship, it makes sense that you wouldn't want to. It makes sense. So much sense. And the good news is the brick wall can come down brick by brick, starting with even the smallest acts of openness. You definitely don't have to just dive into every unresolved issue all at once, and you don't have to start by sharing the hardest, most vulnerable things. There are actually many ways, thank goodness, to start taking the bricks down. And it actually doesn't even have to start with sharing your hurts, because that can feel like a really scary place to start. And sometimes when we do start there, our partner doesn't respond well. And that makes sense because there's this overall vibe already of disconnection in our relationship. But then what happens is it further reinforces the pattern of it's just better to say nothing in my relationship, which then drives you further apart. So I just want to share one of the places that you can start to shift things. Like I said, there are so many. I could do like 15 episodes on this topic alone. So, one of the places that you can start is to start pouring love into your relationship. We talked about everyday greetings. Those everyday greetings, your good mornings, your good nights, your hellos, and goodbyes, those can be such a great place to start. And they may seem like tiny little moments, and they're actually hugely impactful moments for connection. Our brain actually remembers the beginning and the end of an event better than the stuff that happens in the middle. If you want to get technical or Google it, it is called the serial position effect. You are more likely to remember the start of an event because your brain has had more time to encode it, pop it into your long term memory, and whatever happens at the end of an event is fresh in your mind, so it's easier to recall. I often use this example to highlight how this might look. So, say you went to the mall and you got to the mall and the parking lot was chaos. There are cars everywhere. There are barely any parking spots. People are driving way too fast. It's really loud. There's people walking everywhere. You go to pull into a spot, you almost hit someone. It's just so stressful. And then you go into the mall and you have this lovely experience. Your favorite music is playing. There's a sale on the things that you were going to buy. It is ease filled. It's not even chaotic inside the mall like it is in the parking lot. And then you head back out to the parking lot and chaos. It is still as bad as it was when you got there, maybe even worse. So you're having such a hard time backing out of your parking spot. People just keep driving past you. No one's letting you through. It is super stressful. Often, when we get home, the thing that we are thinking about or that we're going to share, maybe with our partner, is the chaos of the parking lot because we remember that way more and way more clearly than that beautiful experience that we had at the mall. This is what our brain does. So even though you had this great experience at the mall, your brain is hanging on to the beginning and the end, which were not so great. So bringing this back to greetings with your partner, since we know that their brain and yours is going to hang on to the first interaction in the morning, making it positive and love filled absolutely 10,000% changes the trajectory of the day. Starting the day with a smile, and I love you, a hug, or a kiss. This is going to start the day with positive ripples, and it gives your brain a great memory to hang on to. Versus if we start the day with barely talking, or maybe we launch into complaining about the day ahead, or we're just getting into logistics or planning about what the kids need for the day. These things set the trajectory off in a whole different direction, often in a downward spiral. When our brain hangs on to that memory, it doesn't inspire connection. This goes for saying goodbye when you leave the house, full of love and connection, even for 10 seconds versus, maybe you yell bye from another room. Maybe you don't say anything at all. Maybe you don't look up from your computer when your partner leaves. One drives connection while the other adds another brick to the wall. And your hellos when your partner walks in the door, taking even 10 seconds to stop whatever you're doing, turn towards your partner and greet them with love and affection versus maybe we just like kind of grunt, hey, or we barely even look up. We don't look up from our phone, or we're making a meal, or we're in another room and we don't say hello when they walk in. It changes everything. And you do not need your partner on board with any of this or to even know any of this information in order to start pouring in this love. You get to go first and inspire the change and connection that you want to see in your relationship. Creating these connecting moments is about creating a safer space for openness in your relationship. When you pour into many areas to increase connection, you actually create a safer space to share your feelings and your hurts with your partner. When we feel loved and appreciated and seen, it is a whole lot easier to express our hurts and for the other person to actually hear them. If you think of your relationship like a car on a bumpy road, and your love tank is the fuel that keeps your love journey smooth, when that tank is full of things like positive greetings and loving goodbyes and appreciation and love languages, you can handle the bumps in the road, like discussing your hurts, without it totally derailing your journey. But when your love tank is on low, every bump in the road feels like a potential breakdown. It is really no surprise at all that when you bring up hurts in this state, you might not get the positive response that you would love. There's no buffer of goodness in that tank. We don't have that appreciation. We don't have that love. We don't have those positive greetings and amazing things in our relationship. So instead of openness and understanding, which would create such connection, you may get defensiveness or your partner shutting down or conflict. And it makes it so much harder to resolve any issues. And then we end up with all of that hurt inside. So consistently filling your love tank, which I actually called the love account, but for the purposes of the car metaphor, we're calling it a love tank. You create this sturdy vehicle for your relationship, allowing you to move through challenges together and keep you moving forward. And you start to break down that wall that is between the two of you. With that wall broken down, you are doing life together, not just like roommates existing in each other's space. Through my love journey process, we deep dive into many ways to break down this wall, to increase connection and vulnerability, emotional safety, love, all the good stuff. I am super excited because I have brought my love journey process that I use with private coaching clients to my new self-paced program, Relationship Recharge. I did a mini launch in the summer, and some of the founding members have been sharing their feedback, and it is so awesome. So one woman shared, we were stuck in a roommate relationship. We were comfortable, generally happy, but not connected. We had fallen into what was easy. We are now back to valuing our relationship as a couple. Sure, our kids have the focus the majority of the time, but we now make sure to find opportunities to connect, appreciate, and feed our romantic relationship. This is what is possible when you know all of the things to break down that wall. There is so much hope. You don't have to stay stuck. And it's so inspiring that she just dove right in and got to see that things can change. She also said, I feel so much more confident and intentional. I'm no longer just letting things slip. I'm taking action in meaningful ways. So that is the coolest, and it makes me the happiest. You do not have to stay stuck in the roommate vibe. With the love journey process, you'll know exactly how to change things. Even when you take this program solo without any participation from your partner, which I love this part so much because I know that a lot of partners aren't on board with relationship growth. My partner was not in the beginning, and it would be such a shame if we had to wait for our partner to get on board in order to see change. But you absolutely do not. Thank goodness for that. So my new program, Relationship Recharge, is actually launching soon, and I'm going to leave the waitlist link in the notes. Being on the waitlist is not a commitment at all, but it does mean you get the early birdie discount. The program is already the most affordable way to get in on the love journey, and with the early bird, it becomes even more of a no-brainer. So I'm so excited to offer this to those who jump on the waitlist. It is November 4th, 2024 at the time of this episode, and the launch is coming soon. So hop on that waitlist if you are stuck in that roommate vibe, because you're about to get unstuck. I would love to celebrate your wins. If you have any thoughts or questions on the program or today's video, pop them in the comments or DM me on Instagram, loving.with.intention. Your intentional action for this week is to focus on every good morning, good night, hello, and goodbye. Do this for 1 week and see what happens. Take a pulse, see how things are feeling after that week. I would love to hear how it goes. And definitely do it beyond the week. Just check in after a week. Do it for the rest of time. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos. I'm sending so much love into your day. That link for the waitlist is in the show notes. And remember that nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's have an intentional week.